So tonight I'm working on, continuing the idea of making animations for my video, my other channel, my main channel. Or there's some debate, and maybe this is my main channel now. But my other channel is all about scripted videos. It's Tangent Storm rather than Tangent Stream, and I want to make videos that explain algorithms and do a lot of animations. And so the tool that I've been looking for a tool to make something like that, to make animations, and that led me to Smalltalk and to Pharaoh and to Glamorous Toolkit here. And somewhere along the line, over this weekend, I just started hacking together something that reminded me quite a bit of my old, one of the very first videos I ever posted online several years ago. I've actually marked them as hidden, so I don't think there's a way to see them right now. But they were game programming videos, and I have some demos that I'll do. They part of the idea was as I went along, I was trying to write down. Oh, I should back up. So it's a the idea is called GameSketchLib, right? It started out as just making a game in some language, and I picked processing because that was a language that is supposed to be useful for beginner programmers, and I was doing it to show my friend how to program, and so I picked this language and just kind of jumped in, and then I learned processing is based on Java, and so then later discovered there's like a processing JS and so on. So processing is a really amazing language for making really like basically you have a canvas, you can draw whatever you want in it, and with a small amount of code you can put a lot of nice pixels on the screen and you can get something working. But you still have to work at it, and so, to make a game engine, there's a lot of abstraction you have to put on top of just a canvas. And so what I did, years ago, and this is going to look a little silly, but like I started out, well, I made a couple games that I don't even over the first week. What did I do? Excuse me. My cursor's not showing up where I expected it to be. There it is. So this is all up on a GitHub repository called GameSketchLib, up on Tangent Storm GameSketchLib, and I made this little thing. I didn't try to see if this one works. This is like the modern version of processing that I'm about to bring up on the screen here. And so you got an orange guy and a blue guy, and even make this bigger. It doesn't really matter because I'm not showing the code here. I just want to show what it does. And this is also very small. This is like a big screen at the time. But in theory, you should be able to move these guys around. Okay, so that guy moved up and down. He moves up, but he doesn't move left or right. Interesting. Oh, I see. So I use the WASD keys. Okay, so. There we go. And this guy, does he move? Oh, it looks like only the orange guy moves. It literally is. It says M orange guy image. Yeah, I had been working at a place that uses a very verbose syntax. I don't know if you can see that, but I can make that bigger. Manage font. No, edit. File. Preferences, maybe a font. There we go. Editor font size. Okay, usually do 18 is good enough. So yeah, I worked at a consulting company. It was called Art and Logic, and they had this particular coding style for like everything. And I think you had to say M for members and K for constants. For a while, that was my coding style. I never really liked it, but it was like a standard, and I stuck to it. Even after I stopped working, this had nothing to do with that company. But it's just funny now because now, having learned J in fourth and over the, I made this 12 years ago. I have a much terser and horizontal style, and I always try to avoid using, I even, today I would format it, more like this, and then even put this on the same line. Anyway, so I made this in processing 12 years ago, and that was like the first week was this little Sketchbots thing. So that was the start on game programming. And then the next week, it was kind of one of those and then draw the rest of the owl kind of thing, because like week 1 was very simple, and then week 2 is if I see the demo, like week 2, what I came up with was this. And it draws weird lines around the boxes for some reason now, but I don't know why this happened. But so imagine this without the lines around the boxes. So something has changed in the past 12 years in processing. But I made this, little video game, and in doing so, I basically made my own framework for making video games, and it was very much based on a Flash system called Flixel. In fact, I kind of explicitly modeled Flixel, and just kind of took some of the ideas and tried to write them in a instead of using ActionScript for Macromedia Flash, I was using Java, or the dialect of Java that processing uses for processing, and that's what I came up with. And I made some videos about that, and it got interrupted in the middle of filming the video and kind of got mad and didn't never put the video about this up online. The ones I did put up, I go back and watch them now, they're terrible. But anyway, that's what I made all those years ago. And I did have, I said the draw the rest of the owl thing is like you draw a circle, draw a triangle for the beak, and then step 2 is now draw the rest of the owl. So there was a step in between these two. So one of them is the bullet demo, and I think they were actually meant to be played in this order. So I had the bullet demo and the overlap demo, and the bullet demo is the idea that you are going to, well, I'll just play it, right? So the bullet demo looks like this, and you've got just a bunch of boxes on the screen, and you've got some bullets, right? And now you're going to shoot. So this is the game. This is basically that game that we just saw, right? And you're going to shoot, and once the bullet hits one of the guys, the squares, that square is dead, and turns gray, and then now the bullet can pass through it. So here the bullets go all the way up, and here the bullet's going to stop on this one and turn this one gray. And so what you're doing is you're putting stuff on the screen, and then you are moving those things around in an animation, and then you are testing whether those two of those things collide. Right? And those are like, basic animation, collision testing, basic geometry testing, and user input like that. This is like the basics of a video game. And then I made a follow-up to this. It looks almost exactly like it. Doesn't have the bullets, but instead, now the idea is was about drag and drop. And so this is kind of the game part, and while I wasn't really thinking about this at the time, this became the sketch part. So it's GameSketchLib Library. I don't know if it's a good name or not. That's what I called it at the time. And so what I do here is you pick up any one of these things, and you can drag and drop them and see whether they overlap. And if they do, then they both turn a different color. And to me, this is like basically the essential part of like a drawing tool, like the kind of drawing tool that I would want to use to like lay out ideas on a screen and like make diagrams and things like that. And so this is, these two demos together were like the core ideas, kind of demonstrate the core ideas. And then I guess so 2 years ago now, when I first when I started streaming for the first time, probably the month before that, I decided to really invest in animation using Godot. So Godot is a game engine. Let me pull up. I didn't actually prepare for this part, but I'm going to pull up Godot here, and I'm going to show you the name of this project. It's on GitHub. It's called the name is Fnarb. Sorry, the name is Fnarbmelix, and it doesn't seem to be up on here right now. So I have to import it right now. So it's Dver Fnarbmelix, FNAR RB Fnarb MLYX. Fnarbmelix. So we import it and edit. This was generated for Godot 4. It needs to be converted. Okay, so convert this. I have not tried running this in Godot 4, so it may or may not work. All right, so yeah, we'll go ahead and cancel. It's all backed up in version control, so you can do whatever you want, Godot. And I ported this concept. I ported the overlap demo. I didn't actually do the bullet demo because Godot is a game engine, so it has that part covered. But I didn't know how to make a the UI kind of thing. Oh, do I have to actually open this? What do I miss? I have to edit it now. Let Godot load its thing. All right. Warning: unable to. I can't see the screen right now because it's full screen, but it says unable to load add-on script from path GameSketchLib plugin. This might be due to a code error in that script. Disabling the add-on. Okay, that's fine. So this may not work, and if it doesn't work, I'm not going to try and make it work. I'm just going to point out that I made the thing, and like show you where this has evolved since then. So let me just try and run it. Probably it won't run because of that error, but let's see what happens. Oh, it does. Okay, it did. So we got like a little inspector-like thing over here, and then if I say node tool, no, yeah, there should be like a grid here, and the grid is not running. So, yeah, well, I won't worry about it. I think I might have made some videos about this in earlier on the channel. The whole idea was that Godot makes a pretty good on this channel. Godot makes it has a really nice scene graph, and it has a nice animation library, or not library. It has like tools for making animation. Like it has a you can make animations visually right here in the system. You click on the animation tab, and you do all kinds of nice things. And I have used this to make animations in my videos. But one of the really nice things about Godot is that you can build tools in GDScript, the scripting language here. You can build these tools that extend the editor, and so this actually. Yeah, I think when I last left this, I had something down. I had it working as a plugin. Maybe that was the plugin error that I got, right? It was working as a Godot plugin, and you could actually open up something here, and all this stuff was running inside the editor, inside of like a little window inside of Godot. But and let me see. I'm trying to find like a particular animation here that I did. Let me try this one. It may not work. Unexpected identifier. Yeah, I'd have to either get Godot 3 working on here again. I don't think I have it installed anymore. Or port this, and maybe I'll wind up doing that just to double check what I did. But the bottom line is that as much as I like Godot as an engine for putting things together, and like it's a fantastic game engine, and I was feeling like it's it has many advantages as as like using it for a presentation tool, for like the environment through which the presentation renders. And for example, my last video was made in Godot, or rather, it renders in Godot, and Godot handles all the rendering and playing of the audio. You know, I record each line independently. Actually, record it in Godot, or recorded it in Godot. Turns out the recording tools in Godot are a little finicky, and they tend to be. I couldn't get them to work consistently. So I now have rewritten that part in a separate tool that has got a Lazarus free Pascal front end, and you know, is rendering my J presentation layer. So I have a J REPL, and I can record the interaction with the J console, and then I can go into this Pascal thing, and I can watch that, and I can, as I'm working with that, I can record individual lines of text, record me speaking individual lines of text, and record and play back the audio. And then I have not yet done this, but then the third step would be, okay, now I've got my presentation and I can hear it, and I like the way it looks on the screen with just the, just REPL interaction and, text console color. And I can hear the audio and I can play it and I like what it says. Then I can go and dress it up in Godot. And if all I'm doing is making text come down the screen, that's great. If I wanted to make something like, here, what do I have, a shader grid? No, where is it? I've moved it out. Like you can write shaders in Godot, and you can, and then use it to record. Like I have a zooming thing of the Mandelbrot set that is like super fast, and it's it's all done on the GPU, and it's like it's just you can make really nice looking animations like that, and control them with like little through the inspector over here, and animate them, and animate values that are being passed to like the GPU, things like that. Like it's really a nice animation tool for simple animations. But when what I want to do is animate, truth tables, and you've got let's see, where's that? What am I looking for? Drawing constants for vex. This is the start of it. I think so. Where's my truth table one? Truth table animation. Okay. That's this one. If I want to draw this truth table, and then this is now 1, 2, 3 by, I guess, 8. 3, 4, yeah. So 8. So that's 24 different cells, and that brings it up to 32 different cells. And I want them to like, this is not a hand-drawn animation. This is this would be a programmatic animation, and you can do that in Godot. But how would I say this? But Godot has like a clear separation between the game that is running when you press this button and the environment, right? And I'm not saying, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like that's maybe a good thing. But if you compare that to the way Smalltalk works, this is a live object. This is a picture on the screen. But like you can right click and zoom in on this, and I don't know if it's easy to tell, but yeah, I'm pointing with my finger. If you look over here as I do this, you can see that like this is a BR horizontal pane. This is a BR brick horizontal pane, right? So I'm able to do something with each of those, right? And that's kind of neat. And if I want, I can. It's actually a little tricky, but I can. I guess I could press Control I and inspect that thing. All right, so now back in the real world, in the environment here, it's got a snapshot of one of those things. All right, so now if I say self background, well, I can just see what it is. It's that color, and I say color green. When I go back to the picture, one of them is green, right? And this is live, right? But it's this one is, completely generated by a program. And on the Godot side, you have a choice between something that's completely generated by a program or something that you've manually moved into place. But then you have to press the button to make it work. And the more I think about this, the more I realize that Smalltalk gives me a place where I can make, not something more than this, where so if I actually click on, where to go, GameSketchLib, if I do this, I can click on this and I can, add things to my scene. In fact, if I double click on these, they change colors. You can do all that stuff, and that all came out of a program that is like the default GS app thing that I made, which I'll show in a second. And you could imagine that I have a button up here that says, pick one of these guys and inspect it. And then when I inspect it, so if I say, let's see, this is called the, oh, sorry, no, I want to, let's see, I would want to, okay. I don't actually have a button to inspect this thing, as far as I know, except for what I just did with the, so I'm gonna, this is how I've been working on it, is instead, I just inspect the class, and then I added this button up here that says run it, and so now I run it, now I have a new copy of it. Okay, so rather than using the Leopard page here, that's just a demo. This is how I've been working on it. So I've got my class here. This is a live class, and then here I've got a class. And so now if I do that same thing again, I can say self sketch. So this class has sorry, scene is what it's called. Scene. I don't know why delete is not working. Self scene, and I can, I have this thing here, and then I can say first tile. Okay. Oops. I got a message saying it doesn't understand first tile. It's children first, and then background red, color red. I would expect that to turn red if I hit Control D. It does. So this is live, and I can code it and move it around and do things. And I don't have a save button yet, but that would be the next thing, right? To be able to I do have a save button in the sense that I can save the entire state of the system. But I don't know. This is like a combination that I really find appealing. That you can have live objects that you make by hand. I made that by double clicking, and I can move it around, put it where I want, and yet I can still talk to it, and I can change the color, or potentially do other things. That's neat to me. And especially once I get a save button there, that seems very appealing. And so now the thought is that you would be able to serialize this object and store it in, a Leopard page or whatever as you're working on it, and you'd have a save button. You would be able to save that object as a thing, either here or just in a different database, or save it to a file or whatever. And you would save your scene just the way you would have a drawing program save something. But then you would also be able to make things with it. Maybe I will try one more time to bring up Godot 3. I don't know that I have. Oh, I do have Godot 3 installed. All right, so if I go to the Fnarbelix CDB or Fnarbelix, and I just ruined it. So git restores everything. Git. These are all newly added files, so I guess I can ignore them. I'll say git clean though, just in case. Git clean.f. And then I don't know what that's all about. All right, so now I should be back on Godot 3 file format, and if I just go, oh, this is Godot 3 now. Let's go Snarbmux does not mean anything. I didn't have a name for, in mind, and so I just chose to pick the most like a bunch of letters that would not make any sense in English. Like that you would never have FN in English. All right, this actually looks like it loaded better. So there's the graph. I'm not seeing the plugin, project settings, plugins, and the SketchLib is enabled. Why don't I see a sketch somewhere? Okay, I don't know. But okay, now if I run this though, you can see the behavior. What does it say? Firewall has blocked something. Sure, allow access. Okay. So what I had it doing was okay. You can now. Yeah. Yeah. When I tried to make it part of the engine, this all got screwed up. But you have this like, oh, sorry. You have different tools you can pick. And so now one of this is, I call this the select angle. We use that word at my job for a similar tool. Or a lasso, or I guess whatever. This is a square lasso, is the select angle. And then you can select things and you can move them around in batch, and then you can change the colors. And duplicate, it says. And then you can, like, say, group these together. Right, so, oh, that didn't work. Okay, interesting. I'm getting an error in the debug console, something about signal already connected. Yeah, so this was working, and then I tried to make it a plugin for Godot, and that failed. This down here is an attempt to get a terminal up on the screen. Since then I've actually got that working, and rendering text, and that's how I made my last video on the other channel about dealing cards in J. You can draw with a pencil, and then that gives you like an object that you can then pick up and move around. I see each time I draw with it, whatever I made is highlighted, and then if I select this, then I should be able to move it around. Okay. And you can delete them. So I added a scene here, right? And this actually does have a save button. In fact, you can I don't know what I'll get if I do this. If I load this, so there's some boxes I saved a long time ago. Checkers, there's a checkerboard. Ooh, okay, that worked. A lot of errors in the console here. Something about the Collatz conjecture. Yeah, this is like I have numerous things that I want to draw, like related to, I was making a video about the Collatz conjecture, and I really struggle with the animation when I tried to use this tool or just plain Godot or whatever. And it really comes down to, like, I'm trying to draw something and improve the like, it's not just a drawing, and it's not just a program, right? I want to use them both together, right? And so that's been kind of the struggle with this particular attempt at drawing things. Somewhere in here, I have what would we call the overlap? Oh, it's right there. So if I open that scene and I run that instead, this, if you saw the earlier part of this video, this should look very familiar, right? Like I got that working, and that was enough for me to understand like this demo was, again, enough for me to learn enough about what I needed to do in Godot to make this kind of user interface. So, like, this is the prototype, right? And it was really helpful. And like, once I've got this, like, all that other stuff is very easy. Oh, and I didn't show the interesting part, right? Which is the boxes. Oh, hang on. Oh, yeah, that was right. So this button right here runs the scene you're looking at, and this button runs like the main scene of your game. And so here, if I load, let's see, if I have one that's a R&D Bex maybe. Oh, that's weird. I don't know if you can see it. There's a bunch of lines right up there. Can I zoom in? You're supposed to be able to zoom in with the mouse. This is running incredibly slow. But this is supposed to be a connected graph, and I can't see them anymore. But there for a second there was like some really faint, or it's black lines on this background. It's hard to see. They're really thin black lines. That should be the lines connecting all these things. That's what I wanted to show, is that you can pick them up and you can drag. Oh, there it is. It's really, I can tell it's really hard to see that. Those should be quite a bit darker and thicker. But just trust me, there's a line in between these. If I hide the grid, maybe it'll be a little bit easier to see. I don't know if you can see that or not. It really blends in with the background. But as you move these around, they it's positioning the lines, so you can have these connected demos, and the actual script here, or there was a script here that generated this. This is a randomly generated tree, and I was laying out the graph, right? And so it wasn't the best algorithm, I don't think, for laying out a tree cleanly, but kind of neat. And it was kind of as far as I got in terms of like generating, like illustrating a what am I trying to say? What am I trying to say? I guess what I'm trying to say is that AST node demo. Is that the scene? Let me run this and see if it works. Oh, this is gonna run the main thing again. I meant to press this button. I think if I run this, oh, that actually looks much nicer, but that's not what I wanted to show. Well, okay. The idea was that it would draw a tree like this, and then actually it would bring all these down to the same level, and it would organize the tree. I'm not sure why it's not working anymore. Yeah, I haven't looked at this in quite a while. And so this is another example of something where I made an animation. This had nothing to do with the drawing tools, but I drew this in Godot, and then I used the Godot animator to okay. So we can use this little state graph down here to somehow direct this. I can't make this any smaller. I'm gonna drag it down so it's a little harder to see, and just trust that I'm clicking on these things. And then I'll make this a little bigger. And this is an addition, right? So the idea is actually really on my preview, it's really hard to see these lines in here, but they're meant to be bits. And if we go back to the init, right, we're going to add these two bits together, and then then they're going to come down and fill in this hole, and then there's going to be a carry result up here, and then we're going to descend and take all three of these things, and we're going to add those three together. Okay, I don't know why I jumped like that. And then we're going to add the result. Oh, I know why. Because so that's the core animation, and then or that's like the little state machine, and then when the animation comes along, it goes like, I think this will work. Oh no, this is not it. Maybe I have to just play the scene. Yeah. All right. So there's some combination of like scripting and whatnot involved. So this is going to add those 3 bits, and we get a 1, and then we go up to the top and we carry the other one, and then we get 2. So we put a 0 and we carry the 1. All right. So this is all what I wanted to do, and it worked, and I really like this, but it just, I don't know. Like I don't have any specific complaints about it, but I didn't make a video with this, right? Like it just seemed too much like hard work to make a video with this. And maybe it's just I need more practice, or I need to like introduce more abstractions on top. I also definitely got sidetracked with other things. You know, I've had a lot going on. I don't know. By the way, I believe this is a shader in the background that's causing this to kind of like give it a breathing effect. And I wanted like something in the background that would be more than just like a static blue background or whatever. So like I really do like the idea of using, you know, shaders and stuff in Godot to do this kind of thing. But like it would be nice to, you know, to be able to make animations that are a little bit drawing and a little bit programming, and you know, be able to make some components and put them all together. Anyway, that's kind of been on my mind for a long time, and of course I've been trying to, you know, experiment with different tools for making these animations. And again, I'm back to Pharaoh here and Glamorous Toolkit, and I really like this environment. And you know, we've got the graphics, we've got a graphical stack here. In terms of the you know, block and brick. There's another thing, one more thing that I would like to kind of point out that kind of got me inspired. Now maybe I'll save it for another day. I'll just mention. So there's another graphical toolkit for Pharaoh called Rosal, and it actually is not built on the same drawing stack. It has its own little canvas ID, idea of what a canvas is. Have I seen Manum? Yes, I have seen Manum, and I'm not opposed to it. I like. I'm very much inspired by 3 Blue 1 Brown, and I've seen Manum, and I've also seen a tool that is a little bit similar to that called Motion Canvas. That is, in fact, I did a stream about Motion Canvas, but unfortunately it's not on YouTube. That is very much like Manum, but it uses like HTML, and you can actually see it on your screen. I really want to see it and draw it interactively. So I'm looking for something that gives me the power of Manum combined with a drawing tool. Yeah, I like Python as well. So Manum is math animation. It's actually a pretty amazing tool for making the kind of animations I want to make. But I don't know. I really want a mix of the drawing part and the editing part, and I've made that before. Like I had that with this GameSketchLib thing in 12 years ago. I made it, and it's like, well, every once in a while I think, well, I'll bust this out and do it again, and I made the attempt with Godot, and it's like, well, maybe I'll try one more time. So that's kind of where my head is tonight, and I actually do think that I should spend more time and like actually study Manum and maybe like steal some ideas, but I don't know. It'd probably be more efficient to just use use Motion Canvas, and up until I started playing with this, that was kind of my idea, especially for the math stuff, because like I do want to make one of the things I really want to do is make some animated graphs. Yeah, within a WYSIWYG editor. I'll show. I'm not going to like demonstrate it yet, but just if you haven't seen it, it's called. Shoot, where's my browser here? Motion Canvas. Motioncanvas.io maybe. Yeah, this thing. This guy, he's making a game as well, and so he's got the timeline, and you kind of write it. you draw the components that you want in like JSX, which is like the syntax for like React or whatever, HTML tags basically, but your own custom tags. No, we needed a small talk. Yeah. So, but this is really amazing inspiration. Like this is beautiful. Like his demos are just gorgeous, right? He's making like this pixel platformer, and it's just awesome. But it is a a TypeScript and JavaScript thing, and again, it separates it doesn't have the liveliness that you get with Smalltalk. So anyway, that's maybe enough rambling here, but I if you like Manim and you want something visual, right now I think this may be the maybe Adobe Animate is the other thing I looked at, but it's like the modern incarnation of Flash. But I don't know. I actually downloaded that again, and I really liked Flash, but it's just not. It didn't have the right kinds of abstractions, and I felt like it was just too big and bulky, and I didn't want to pay Adobe for it. Really like this. Have not really looked at as much at Manim as I should, but anyway. All right, enough rambling. I'm planning to just jump in and code. So thank you for watching, and feel free to hang out, and maybe you can, if you know Smalltalk, maybe you can tell me what I'm doing wrong whenever I inevitably screw up here. So what I was planning to do, so in this version, let me just kind of do a quick code review of what I did over the weekend, just to refresh my own memory. So this is Leopard. This is just like a notebook kind of interface. So this is my idea here. I'm just drawing directly in block. I think if I look at all right, so GT Inspector, I just made a class called GS App, GameSketch App, right, as element, so it returns whatever UI is. So this is the UI. GT Live 4 is this tab right here. So this causes this to be, these two are the same thing. These are both inspectors on the exact same object. I'm sorry, no. I clicked GS App new to make this thing, and this is embedded in the Leopard thing. And when I click this, I got a new instance. And so now I'm just looking at the class. I'm looking at the meta tab, the meta page on this class, and then when I click this, it actually runs a new instance. So turns out if you want to do that, I made this button right here, and it just says an action, and this makes that a button up here, this GT action thing, and it says it's a button and has this icon, and when that button is clicked, then get the flow, which is this. These are called Miller columns, something like that. Miller columns, I believe. So the flow is the left to right rendering engine for exploration here. So it says, give me the flow, spawn an object to inspect from this class. Give me my class. So make a new instance of my class. And then the idea would be you would subclass this and to make your own things, and they would all, and everything you subclass would have this ability. So whatever kind of application you make would live in one of these tabs, and you could do this, and then you would have this left right kind of thing. So when you click on it, then you just manually click on the live tab. I don't know how to make it go to the live tab yet. Anyway, so then what's in here? Well, it's rendering whatever the UI was. So I go to methods, and then under UI, or I guess where's the initializer? Probably under here. I think by default everything goes under accessing, and maybe this should probably be called like initializing or initialization. I think. Yeah, initialization. And then now when you filter, it'll be initialization. But anyway, it just says call self makes start scene, and then the default start scene is a sketch scene, which is this, right? And then make UI, it makes all this stuff up here. So this is like, here's a vertical pane and has this little, so I made a GS colors class to like make a theme kind of thing. So that's the tool background color, and then add a child, make this toolbar, which just says, put 2 buttons there. One of them says hello and pops up a little message up there. And the other one adds a node to the scene, right? So that's all I really learned about making UIs in Glamorous Toolkit, all in one place. And then the next thing is this scene, right? So then add this scene to it, and so then that should be called make sketch, right? So that has nodes and sketches. Okay, so the sketch scene is really just an element. So BL is for block. Block is you have a very low level like canvas layer, which is just like, draw vector graphics on a buffer in memory. That's called Sparta, or there's 2 of them, Sparta or Skaya. And then up above that layer is block, which is the Smalltalk world where you're drawing on one of these canvases. And then that's where you actually create objects. So a BL element is like the smallest unit of block that I have discovered, and everything it's a block element, right? And so so this says make a new one, and it's got constraints so that it matches the size of its parent. So as does this one to make it the size of this thing. Got the default background, which is this color, and then when it's double clicked, you add a node. So do get the event and consume the event and add a child to the scene, which we've captured here. So this gray area, and what we're going to add is whatever make node returns, and then we're going to relocate it based on where I clicked. And then what make node happens to do at this moment is it's a vertical pane, so it's like a container object that has a particular size, and it doesn't contain anything yet, but the intent was that I'll put some text in here. And so right now, when you just click on it, when double clicked, consume that event and turn the color to some random color. That's it. That's the extent of the code that I've got so far. Everything else I'm getting from Glamorous and from Block itself. All the dragging and dropping is done with pull handler. So add event handler, BL pull handler, and that just, I guess that's their word for drag. So they call it pulling. Let me make my head tiny so I get out of the way. And that's where I got. So my thought was, I've got in my so I left a trail for myself right here when I 12 years ago when I made the processing version of it. The intent was that I would make a course about that. Like it even says course here. See that? GameSketchLib course, right? And the question was, how do you get from yeah, I'll pull up this diagram as well. Give me a second here. Course. This is a program called Visual Paradigm. It's going to take a minute to load up. It's like a UML and diagramming tool for software, and this is the community edition. Oh, this is not what I want. Oh, so I made this little sketch of how everything would come out, but then no, that's not what I'm looking for. I guess this was a draft of what I was looking for. I guess we can look at it. So the idea was I'd have a game object, and then you would have a composite object. And I think this is just like basic concept of a rectangle and all these things, right? So there'd be some amount of timing for animations and whatever. Borrowing from this Flixel game engine for Flash, there was a concept of a game state, and then you have different states for each screen in your game, like the title screen versus the play screen versus the menu screen versus the pause screen, and so on like that. And then processing doesn't have like a stateful concept of the keyboard, and neither, as far as I know, does Pharaoh, right? That's really a game engine concept, where you can say, like, is this key down? Meaning every time you get a key event, you want to log the fact that you got a key event, and then, did the key go down? Did the key go up? And in the meantime, you've got like a bitmap of all the keys, so that you can on each frame just do all the work in one script. Like that's how that's like the differentiator between like a game engine and a GUI engine. A GUI engine tends to be very event driven. You clicked on something, you got it, where you got an action happen, whereas a game engine tends to be do the same thing on every frame and then just test whether the state includes things like a key being down or whatever. Because often, like, you're like causing acceleration to happen, and you don't want it on the key down or the key. You want to check whether that key is being held down. Right, holding a key down is kind of a unique concept. Is unique to gaming, rather than it's not something you would normally do in a GUI interaction, and at least in a traditional GUI. Some things, like you hold the space bar down and you drag, but that, or control or something, and that makes a difference. But anyway. But this is like an earlier version of it. I made a much bigger version of this what I thought I was clicking on here. And I think if I go up one layer, first maybe. Yeah, this is the UML. Do I want to save the project? So this is what, like, I think of as GameSketchLib, right? Close this somehow. It's been a long time since I used Visual Paradigm. Yeah, this is not one of those tools where you can drag with the spacebar. But this is kind of, again, based on this Flixel idea, Flixel game library. There's a JavaScript library called Phaser that is kind of like the spiritual successor to Flixel, now that Flash is gone. But the idea was it was in Flixel you had FLX object or something like that, and that was like the main thing, and it had like a bunch of stuff baked into it. Like it had a lot of like implementations of like everything you would need in a game. So, well, not this stuff, but like this kind of thing mostly. Like spatial stuff and game stuff. Like, is it active? Is it being animated on every frame? Does it exist in the world? Is it visible? Is it alive or dead? How do you render it? How do you update it? And then there's like spatial stuff for like hit detection. Does it contain this point? Does it overlap something? I don't know how much of this actually came out of Flixel and how much of it is like what I needed. But like, these are the two main ideas. And then somewhere along the line, I went from thinking about just making games to like, how can I make interactive sketches? And like that, I don't remember what caused that connection, but that's where I went with it. And so now it's like a thing for making anything I wanted to put on the screen. And I've used it like maybe once since then. I was taking a class in artificial intelligence. They were making, it was the first big course that Peter Norvig and Andrew Ng, is that his name? No, it wasn't him though. It was I don't know, the guy that went on to make either Udemy or Udacity. I don't know what it was, but they did a course on Andrew Ng did the course on machine learning back at the time, and then Peter Norvig and the car driving guy, I forget his name, went on to make did the artificial intelligence thing. Anyway, they had a. I used this in that course for my homework. Like they were doing something with Bayesian nets, and I don't remember what the math involved, but I remember making a sketch where I could actually draw like a diagram, like the diagram you're looking at here, but in I'm saying I use this. I used GameSketchLib, not Visual Paradigm. Like I want at that point in my life, I would tend to come to something like Visual Paradigm and do a lot of these UML diagrams, to like sketch out what I was thinking, and Peter, no. It was called. This was. I don't even know if this is still online, but Peter Norvig he's a AI researcher. He's a big Lisp guy. He's now like the head of research at Google. I think he was at the time too. But AIclass.com. Nah, it's gone. AI open source AI class. This is really kind of off. Because there's so many of them now, but like at the time, this was like a revolutionary thing. What's this guy's name? He either founded Udemy or Udacity. I always get them mixed up. Udemy founder. No, so it's Udacity founder. Sebastian Thrun was the other guy. He and Peter Norvig put together a class on. Well, I bet if you search for this guy, Sebastian Thrun. Can I copy this guy's name? Yeah, Sebastian Thrun, AI class with Peter Norvig, right? Yeah, so this one, this class spawned Udacity, and then it also it was just really cool. It was like the first major course of this time. It was all done on YouTube, and yeah, Peter Norvig and Sebastian Thrun. He's like, in addition to the founder of Udacity, he I think he was at Stanford or something. He's a professor at Stanford, and he did a lot of work with like self-driving cars. So it was a really cool course. And I didn't actually. It's free. You can still watch it for free right now, and it's very well worth watching. Nothing to do with the current wave of AI, but this was like, it's a really amazing course, and it's all about statistics, uncertainty, Bayesian learning, and things like that. I was really impressed with it. It is at least 10 years old now, but it was really cool. Anyway, that was like the one time where I used GameSketchLib since then, since making that little Invader sketch video, Space Invaders game. So anyway, I thought I would port some of this, and I don't know if I'm going to try and port this video game, but at least the overlap demo. So right, so like I know how to do the drag and drop. I got that for free with one line of code that says pull handler, right? But what I don't have is sorry, I was reading the chat. Well, what I don't have is the okay. So like here, like I had to do everything from scratch, and so I start with my own notion of what is a rectangle, what is a square, and let's move these around, and I do all the mouse handling myself. Here I got it for free from Block. But what I don't have is like the notion of like, do these two things overlap? Because now that's all abstracted away from me. And so I need to know, like what I would really like to do is be able to ask the scene, like, instead of saying, children first, children first, I'd like to say like this node or whatever, right? So what I want is like when, and maybe there's a BL mouse down event, do, and then I'm not sure if I want to consume it or not, but like because I don't want it to mess with the pull handler and all this stuff. Let's just see what happens. So we'll say like well, if this is so if this self scene is the big gray box and these are its children and one of them is the first child and I don't know which one it is until I tell it to turn green, okay, or change colors. Okay, that's the first child. Then if I want its parent, then I should be able to say parent, right? I think this tests for equality. I'm not for identity. I'm not sure. So I can say browse implementers. Yeah. Okay. So this is a proto object. This is like an inherent thing. Are the same object? Yeah. So this should ask whether they're the same. But I need to put these in parentheses. And if I say this, I'm expecting this to say true. False. Oh, because it's self-seen. Does block send messages? Does it talk to nodes or just respond to messages from your app? Well, it has. I mean, like, does it send messages? I don't know. I guess when I tell it to match the constraints, it sends a message to format to size this thing. I don't know enough about it to answer that question. I think what happens is it's collecting the input events, and it's just like drawing, layout, and input. Maybe not even layout, because when I wanted to say a vertical pane, the prefix switches from BL to BR, which is left and right. Obviously, no, it's block and brick. So block is the low level thing, and then brick is the widget library on top of it. But like the BL pull handler, the basic idea of dragging the mouse over something is at the block layer, or at the block layer, and the layout stuff and the like anything that's a UI widget, like all these buttons and stuff, and not just the button and the fact that you can click on it, but also the fact like this is following like the material design style of making a button. Like I don't know if you tell, there's like a slight shadow there, and that's called an aptitude. I don't know what an aptitude is, but I think it has something to do with like a theme or a style or something. I haven't really explored through the code of block, and as far as I know, there isn't like documentation outside the code. If there is, I'm not aware of it. The widgets don't receive event messages. Well, they receive these, right? So make node is okay. So node is a BR vertical pane, and every BL element is the most basic thing, and elements receive double click event, they receive click event, all these things, mouse down event, all those things. So the messages are coming from, yeah. So I guess that's the answer. Yes, they receive messages. They receive event messages. Yes, from the mouse and the keyboard. I mean, I guess if I clicked on this, if I click on this and then it's messy, and then I'm going to control click on this book, and that's going to give me a new tab up here. And now I'm in DL double click event, and if I move this over, this tool is called a coder, and it's kind of the glamorous take on the browser. But you can see all the events that it gets. The gesture events for like touch, focus events, blur events. I'm actually surprised to see focus in here. To me, that's like a UI concept, but I don't know. I guess a BLUI event. So I mean, it does seem to have like the basics of a UI concept, even though it doesn't have the widget library on it. Touch event, text input event, shortcut event. I believe those are like control codes, or like keyboard shortcuts. Yeah, that's all I know. Yeah, and then you compose like by default, like an event. I mean, like an element is just like an empty clear rectangle basically, and you if it's not clear, I'm not an expert in this. I'm learning this, right? This is all new to me, both Smalltalk and I've known about Smalltalk for a long time, but I'm not proficient in it, and Glamorous is new to me, and then the all the UI stuff is the graphics engine is new to me. What was I doing here? So I was going to say I wanted to tell this guy I want the scene to have like a current node, and that's making me think that I need like a new class. So rather than doing this, let's just say I want to just encapsulate all this thing as like as an object, right? So GS scene element, GS sketch scene, new. I think that's what I want this method to be, right? Like that's it. And so I can say, well, okay, just create a new class, and it's in GameSketchLib. It's going to have a class. It's going to have it is a scene, and it's going to have a thing called current node, or even just current. All right, and then I think I just said it was an object. I don't want it to be an object. I want it to be. I want it to. I want a subclass BL element. I think. Come here. What just happened? I want to tell this to be a superclass. I want the superclass of this thing to be BL element. Okay. And then I say check, and then this goes away, and then I hide all this, and and then cut all that and save it. And then I'm going to go ahead and click on the icon here and get a new tab. And then in the initialize method, arrow and block are new to me, but Smalltalk. Yeah, so I learned about Smalltalk through Squeak, and Pharaoh is like a cleanup of Squeak. It's like Squeak had a lot of interesting ideas in it, but it got really, really messy. And Pharaoh was launched several years ago to be like a modernization of that. Okay, so I need to move the make node thing. So let's make that new message not implemented. Add it. And then we'll go ahead and add this method. And I'm going to copy it over from the other class. I'm going to move it over from there. I don't need this anymore. I was looking at apparently Syncom Smalltalk is the big commercial one, and it fixes my one complaint that I think causes the I don't it appears to do this that I think causes the trouble with Squeak, which is that there are no namespaces. There are no namespaces in Pharaoh either, which is why I'm calling this GS sketch GS something instead of sketch something. Where's my other one? So I'm going to just copy this whole thing. And just delete this. Remove that class. Over here. So yeah. So it makes me hopeful. Syncom makes me hopeful that is it maybe it's VA Smalltalk. I think maybe the company is called Syncom. I don't know. And okay. This little collapsing thing is really cool, but it can be a little overwhelming, especially on a small screen like this. I'm looking at GS app. I'm looking at the make sketch scene in GS app, and right here in the middle of the thing, you're able to open it up and see this. And like stock Pharaoh does not have this. And normally systems have classes that respond to messages. So it may have block elements or widgets that respond to events and perform work instead of having to do it in a scene or app class. Yeah, so I guess what I'm thinking is that well, the right, I know I'm not doing this necessarily the Smalltalky way, right? Like a game engine. Well, like even with Godot, like you have each individual object can have scripts that run on every frame, and then you put them together in a scene, and you can have things run on every frame on the scene level, and that is definitely not. I don't know. It's not entirely like I don't want to say like it breaks the object-oriented way of thinking about things, but like a game might not necessarily be. I don't know what I'm saying, right? Like I don't know. Like I'm not necessarily trying to do this the object-oriented way, as I guess the gist of it. I don't necessarily want to force that paradigm on people, right? Like I'm going to market this to people who are not necessarily. I say market it, like my goal in general is to make videos that are kind of about programming, and show off a lot of stuff on the screen. And if I make this tool open to people, the people who are using it are not. I mean, professional programmers are welcome to do it, but it's aimed at like beginners who may not even know how to program at all. So it's one of the things processing does is like you can write code. You're basically writing Java, but it strips away the class tag. So you just have a script and you just write circle. I want to write a circle at these things, at these coordinates, and I want to make it this color and put it in there. And so I want something very much like that, but also combined with a drawing tool. And then if you want to start doing like the more powerful, UI stuff, and use that interaction, then it's there behind the scenes. But I'm trying to like hide that in a way. I haven't like written out like a manifesto or anything about this. This is just like kind of like what I was thinking along the lines years ago, and like what I'm looking to do. Like really, the idea is that you've got the drawing tools, and if you want to go build like a real application, it's there. But mostly, this is like a notebook, and you can just type a couple things in that notebook, and that little notebook is a script that runs and puts some kind of thing on the screen, which then you can manipulate in some other way and maybe turn into like objects for, you know, like an actual program or whatever. But it would just be, I don't know. Like I have not put a lot of the design into that right now, and maybe that'll all change. I don't know. I'm not like I'm not necessarily trying to teach object-oriented programming. I just want to make this tool. So I don't know. I don't really know what I'm saying here. I'm just rambling now. Anyway, let's see if this works. So what I did is I factored out I basically extracted this class, and then so now when I run this, I would expect to see everything still working exactly the same way, except now this one says GS app did not understand make node. Okay, so now I get to do the cool debugging thing in Smalltalk. It says self make node. So I don't think I need this button at all. Like it doesn't do anything for me. Like it was just there to remind myself how to make a button, but so does the hello world button. So I think for now I'm just going to delete this rather than fix it. So what's going on? That should save. I don't know if that's saving or not. If not, I'm just going to go to the other. It runs again. Yeah, that button went away. Okay, so we're good. And I'm just going to check that in as, I don't need this. I'm going to just check that in that I factored out extract class. So GameSketchLib extract class GS sketch scene. And commit, and I'll just push that on. Okay. See now I've lost even just by breaking it into two objects now. Like I've kind of lost the ability to just be looking at a full screen view of this other object, and then when I click on it, I get the new app, right? So maybe I wanted the subclass GS app instead or something. But no, because what I wanted was on the scene that when the node has a mouse down event, then we say self parent. Well, hang on. The node is a member of scene, and so we just say self current node. Or, wait, I think I just called it current, right? We don't even need to say self. You just say current. Current equals node. Because I don't have a self here. I have this. But, like again, this should probably be its own, like a node, GS sketch node should be its own class. And I probably will get there at some point. I'll probably need to do that, and I'll make it its own class. But you know, my hope is that you know this power of making classes when you need them is there for you, but that you don't need them. Like that you can write it as a script. We got that Rosal thing, the visualization library that comes with the example of it. I don't actually have any example. Well, I do. You make a morphic world. This really got me inspired. Is Rosal? If you say Rosal 3 example, you have to load the full version. That takes a while, but I've already done it. So you say examples, and you can get some like just amazing visualizations out of this engine. What I did is I opened up a Pharaoh and like the old, not the old, but like the default thing that comes. This is like stock Pharaoh right now, and then just the plain Pharaoh that you normally would download by itself, and then I installed Rosal. I don't know what's happening here, but you can see like these are just scripts, right? So I like this style where you can just describe in a little script. You have all the components you need, so you can just say what you want to make, and you can make some just gorgeous things in here. Let's see. Some of these don't work in the Glamorous stack. Like Glamorous and Pharaoh have diverged a little bit, and I think Rosal is actually targeting Pharaoh 12 now. Like I tried to get the latest version of Pharaoh 11 and just install Rosal on it. It didn't work, and which is odd because it's like a month old. Yeah, but Pharaoh 12, I downloaded the latest and greatest and it worked fine. Almost everything worked, but like a couple things didn't work in this version. And on Pharaoh 11, I couldn't install it at all. Anyway, I'm rambling, but the point is that like this is the kind of thing I want to be able to paste into Leopard, the notebook thing in Glamorous Toolkit, and get these animations. But Rosal, this engine does not work. It's built atop Morph. Well, it has its own like Canvas API and everything, and so you can export it to a movie, which is something I want to be able to do. You can export it to different things, and there and basically it has an abstraction over a canvas idea, and there is not a block canvas. So because block canvas doesn't exist, I don't yet know how to render something like this in like outside of this morphic world, right? So I had to go into here, and I clicked on morphic world, and then I got the other window, and then now I'm able to run Rosal, but I don't know how to put it inside this UI, and I don't believe it's certainly not possible outside the box. I have seen previews of morphs. So these, the morphic everything is called a morph, whereas these are all called elements. And I have seen, like, I think if you just say like make a new morph, it'll actually show in the inspector. It'll show the it'll show like a preview of like a morph that's very small. But I don't know how to do it with like animations and all that stuff. So I don't. As far as I know, like it's just not possible to get this inside this window yet. And so I might take a look at that when I get more proficient at Smalltalk. But in the meantime, well, I was thinking, well, I'll just write in Pharaoh, and I don't want to be mean, but like I don't like Pharaoh. I like this. This is a fantastic environment. I get lost in Pharaoh. Like there are some things that I like about Pharaoh that I think should be copied over to Glamorous, but I far prefer this user interface to the kind of dragging and dropping windows that you get with Squeak and Pharaoh. And I don't know. That's just me. That's just my preference. Um, and also I think the block is a lot simpler than Morphic. Morphic has a lot of stuff built into it. Like it's many years old, and I don't know. There's another Smalltalk implementation called Cuis, which I believe is the Spanish maybe word for guinea pig. And so instead of using a mouse, they use a guinea pig, and as a logo. And the author of that has made it like he calls it Morphic 3, and it's a pure Smalltalk vector rendering engine, and it looks really cool. And it gives really nice results. Like this is, I believe this is built on top of Cairo, as is also this, but just in different ways, and so they're not compatible. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But they're calling out to C. They're calling out to these C libraries that have existed. And this has two. It has Sparta and Skia, and I don't remember what the two engines are. But the Cuis thing gets results that are as good or even better than this. And he's got some really interesting algorithms that are really fast in pure Smalltalk. And then he was talking about implementing them in C and then making that the engine. So I would really be interested in breaking that dependency, and just have something like his version of the vector engine, which is really cool, with something like Rosal on top of it, but then also have block on top of it. I don't know. I'm just daydreaming. I don't have any idea about any of that, like how to make any of that happen right now. I don't know enough about any of those systems. So I want to know how to identify a particular guy that I've clicked on. I think I've made that happen now. Pharaoh presentation last week. Did you find this channel from searching Pharaoh? Because I'm not like a Pharaoh channel, but apparently I'm a Pharaoh channel now. I don't think of this as a Pharaoh channel, but I'm doing Pharaoh, so I guess people are finding me that way. Self-seen. What am I doing? I wanted to see, okay, if I run this, I click on live. Do I have a self-seen current background color red? I think if I press Control P now or Control D, that'll turn red. Control D for do it. Ooh. Does not understand current. Okay. What is self-seen? So I'm going to Control I to inspect this and see what it is. It is that scene. Oh, I can't. I can't. Twitter recommended me for the Smalltalk. Oh, thanks, Twitter. I see what I'm doing wrong. I'm trying to access a private variable, so I need like an accessor for that. So I guess if I say self-seen and I inspect that, do you work in Smalltalk, like professionally, or? Element. Oh, because I didn't make a class. I want self-seen. That is it. Okay, wait. I'm not expecting that to be an element. I'm expecting that to be a sketch scene, right? Right, so I said initialize. Self scene is make start scene. Make start scene is make sketch scene. Make sketch scene is GS sketch scene new. Okay, so if I run that, maybe I didn't refresh this app. I'm pretty sure I did. A BL element. Okay, well that's weird. Maybe I'm supposed to return self. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think I'm supposed to either return self or just not return anything. Is that right? I'm gonna explicitly return self. I think in initialize you don't have to return anything. I think if you don't return anything, you get self. All right, that's a guess, but I think if I do this, oops. Okay. What did I do? I pasted this in. All right, so this should, yeah, okay. I pasted this in and I made up this thing called scene, but what I really wanted to do is super initialize. I just didn't finish this. And then this is now self constraints do, and then self background, and I guess self add child, and then return self. Methods return self by default, so then I don't need that. Thank you. And so then I think I can just say, I think I needed a name for this because it wasn't a method on a class. Now I don't need a name, so I don't need that. Just make this all one cascade. I think that works. Thank you for hanging out and watching this. I don't usually have an audience, so I'm usually just kind of talking into the void here for posterity. Okay. I mean, people watch it, but they watch it at different hours. All right, so I'm expecting now, this is the last one I made, I'm expecting that to be self-scene current. I'm expecting that one to turn red if I run this. Does not understand current, right? Because I didn't implement current. So now, first of all, is self-scene, and now I'm expecting that to be a GS sketch scene. So just let me double check that. And if I inspect that, I should see GS sketch scene over here. It does. Okay, so that's good. And close this window. And then oh, right, and then I need to add current. And so then I believe I just click on, oh, sorry, over here, I click on this one inside the sketch scene, and I just right click and say create accessors, and now I run this again. And leave that persists, that little script persists. So now whichever one I made last should turn red if I run this. Does not understand current red. Self-scene current background color red. Background was sent to nil, so current returned nil. That's current, and I made an accessor for it. Oh, I didn't, no. Isn't self the scene? No, here self is GS app. So this is an inspector. This is like a, Pharaoh doesn't have this window anymore, but there used to be a window where you like when the content. This is the self in this place is whatever you're looking at. So this is an inspector on a GS app. So self is the app, and then the scene is is the GSsketch scene, which is this little part of it. See, so without the hello, it's just this gray part without the toolbar. And if I come over here and I say, so now I'm talking to this thing. I believe if I say current here, I'll just be able to print it, right? And it's nil. Okay. So by default, it's nil. Oh, because you have to click on it. Now if I say current now and I print it, it's still nil. Okay. I can. Oh, sorry. What was that? One of these tabs should be meta, and then meta would let me edit this class. Or I could go over here and edit it over here. Self add child node equals self make node. Didn't I say current somewhere? Make node. I added a click handler. Current equals node. Okay. When a widget is clicked, you want to set current to the widget. Yes. Self add child node. And so right now we've got this make a node. Node is again, this should probably be its own class. It should be called a GSsketch node, and maybe I'll do that in a second. But it is a vertical pane, and it has an event handler, pull handler. It could be that these two are conflicting with each other, but maybe it's also. Let's just put a breakpoint in here. Did I say self halt? Is that how it works? Yeah. Let's just see what happens if I get that. That's the value of nodes over yeah. I did break. Self halt and current equals node. So what is node? Node is a BR vertical pane. Yeah, so current is nil, and then if I'm not sure how to step. If I step over this, what is, okay, node is not nil, okay. Step over this, I would now expect this to not be nil. But it's still nil. This is starting to get messy over here. How do I fix this? Like, this is too nested for me. So it looks nicer over here, but now I've lost my preview. All right, so I did something wrong. Current is equal to node. How about maybe I should do it this way and then evaluate it. For a second here, I was thinking maybe it's because I'm using it before it's completely defined, but like my understanding is that I'm closed over this variable regardless of whatever it's bound to. And I did in the debugger there see that it was bound to a BR vertical pane. So I would expect this to set this current. Okay? And then this should return whatever current is. Mm-hmm. Let me start. Wait, maybe I'm. Let me just run it from the start. So get rid of all those many objects and just run it again. All right. So if I come live, right now it halted, and now if I say self-seeing current and I print that BR vertical. Okay. Now wait. The BR vertical pane has nil next to it. I think that's just part of like maybe that's just something in the way it prints itself. It's printing some child object that I have not. I think that maybe it's its name. I think you can give each thing a name so that you can like look it up by name. Anyway, so now I think this works. I didn't track all of that in my head, and I don't know what I did wrong. But yeah, I don't know what I did wrong. I didn't track what I did wrong. I thought this was the same thing I was doing the whole time. All I did was I moved a debug breakpoint, and I changed how deeply I was nested in the in these columns, because I was like several copies over, so maybe I just wasn't getting the somehow I wasn't getting the latest and greatest version of the code. I'm not sure. This is not the recommended way to use this thing. Like I'm just experimenting here. I don't nobody told me that I should make a button that takes an instance and spawns a copy of the class. I don't know if that's a good idea. It's just whatever. All right, so I think I wonder also. I have to actually click on something, right? When I'm making the node, it doesn't actually set the current node to anything. So if I just create a new node, like if I just run this right now, maybe this is what I was doing wrong. If I just create a new node, this should give me an error about nil, right? Yeah, okay, that's what happened. Now I understand. It had nothing to do with the breakpoint or anything like that. It had to do with whether I clicked it or not. Except I said that earlier, and then it didn't work. But now it worked. Okay, I don't know. I don't know what I did wrong. I bet it was this, and I was just misunderstanding what I was doing or not paying attention as close as I should have. I'm known for that. That's why I write tests to pay attention for me. I usually write tests. I'm not writing tests today. But, okay, so basically, on creating a new thing, I should also set current to none. So in fact, I could just use current here. Come on. For whatever reason, highlight. Oh, that's interesting. This to me was looking like it was highlighted, and I could just delete it, but I can't. It's an error message, right? It's like it's telling me it's not defined. Pharaoh by example, exercises of the first 4 chapters. I have looked at Pharaoh by example a long time ago, and I do think it was a good book, and I probably should refresh it. I should probably refresh myself on it. I didn't put a lot of thought into this. I film for a couple hours every night, just whatever I happen to be doing, and somehow I wound up playing with this more and more. So, you know, it started out as just like I was going to look at Pharaoh, and then I was going to look at Mathematica. I actually downloaded Mathematica. I was going to look at them both as like potential ways to, you know, to do animations and just spend a little time with them. Now my Mathematica trial expired, and I just never got to it. I was having so much fun with this. Yeah, the Pharaoh UI is actually very different. It's built on this, like I said, an old framework called Morphic. The exact same thing that runs Squeak, although it's much themed much more nicely. And it's got, you know, it's nice, but there have been several attempts to. It's nice in what it can do, but it's a little overwhelming, and like I said, it's grown over many years. And there's, like I said, there's Morphic 3 from Kuis, and then Block was originally intended as a way to, you know, a potential replacement for Morphic. I don't think it's really going away anytime soon. Like, too many things use it, but I have even less experience with just making Morphic stuff. But I believe that book talks a lot about Morphic. What was I going to do? I was going to say current. So I was just going to use the class or the instance variable rather than have a temporary. Okay. So now I think when I first start out, then if I say this stuff, it'll immediately turn red, and it does. Okay. So I'm going to save this. So this, so since you're new to, for anybody watching this, so Pharaoh has a thing called, I believe it's, well, there's two pieces. So Monticello, there's Monticello, and then there's Metacello, and they are both, or maybe there's just Metacello, but that's the, like, you know, that bridges the traditional Smalltalk changes file with a modern version control systems, like external version control systems. And then there's Iceberg, and I'm not entirely sure what the relationship between those two or three things are, but Iceberg seems to be the Git specific one, or maybe it's maybe, I don't know. I don't really know the whole ecosystem, so maybe I'm just talking nonsense here. But there's a thing called Metacello and a thing called Iceberg, and together they give you this Git integration, and then so now you can talk to Git, and so that's what I'm doing here. So in addition to just saving the image with this button, I can check this in. I don't know what I changed here. So this is the Lepiter page, and Lepiter is this big, you know, Lepiter are these pages. We have like a little notebook interface, and so you don't actually have a nice view here to see what's changed. Looks like it's only been the height of this thing, and I don't know how to just say, well, forget it, I don't want to keep this change. So I'm just going to check it in and be a little messy, and I don't really like that, but whatever. All right, so I'm going to check in that I set current on, you know, have a concept of a current node. So GSL add current member last interacted focused mode, focus node, focus the last clicked node. Iceberg is the Git client? Yeah, okay. Makes sense. Oh, I didn't mean to change that. I guess you can edit the README right here. Anyway, so then that pushes it to GitHub. I did have, on Windows, I had to set up like my SSH key is like stored in the Windows environment or something. Or I used P agent, putty agent. It was a little weird to set up. Okay, so that's all set up. And now that I have the current one, I want to see all the children. And I want to do this overlap demo. So I want to do this, where I pick up one and I drag them around and make, the two that are, any number that are overlapping should turn gray. That's what I want. I wonder if they all, yeah, okay, so if you're overlapping anything, you turn gray. And if you are not overlapping anything, you turn white. Because that will allow me to implement drag and drop. Okay? Because one of the basic things, the things I want to do are I want to be able to put text in here, and I have some. There's an example that comes with you search for Wordly maps, and you look at a name page. You can open a Wordly map. There's an example of it. So Wordly map snippet. There you go. And so this class is something that a Wordly map is like a business diagram, but it's also like one of these, kind of like what I'm shooting for here. And so this thing where you can take the names and or the labels and edit them is what I want to implement, and that's why that's where I copied the notion of a VR vertical, whatever. Yeah. I guess the company that makes the Think, they use Wordly maps quite a bit in thinking about strategy. I know a little bit about them because I actually wound up taking through my work. I had a little introduction to these things. I've not really used them myself, but the point is, I have an example of how to do this text, so I'm not too worried about implementing that. But I don't know how to get the bounds of a rectangle, and so I also, the other thing I want is I guess if I go to Lepiter and I go to TS Pharaoh, this channel is called Tangent Stream, so TS is Tangent Stream or Tangent Storm. And then but you can click on any of them, right? But this is what I want. So I want to be able to do these kinds of diagrams, right? And this also ships with this ability to draw lines and draggable things and have lines connect them. This also comes with just the stock Glamorous toolkit. Like, this is built into Glamorous. It's called. There's a library called Mondrian that is built on top of Block as well. And so I got it as far as making this thing. Yes, nodes have a bounds method, and they also have a geometry method. So bounds are what elements are, right? So they use the word elements. And I believe bounds are they also use the word extent, and I think extent is a, we can just look at it, right? Extent, right? I think that's a class. No. How to set the extent of something. Base extent, right? Well, that's just like extent is just a size. So bounds is what you would really want. So if I said bounds here, does not understand bounds. GT world does not understand bounds. A GT world, I think, is where at the very top level, I think there's one morph, and a world is a morph concept. And I think that's where like things are getting a little weird here. So that was like the worst possible example I could have pulled up. Let me just close all this. I don't see a tab to click on. There it is. So I'll click on anything. Nope. Bounds give the coordinates. Extents give. No, I think there's extent, location, and let me just pull up a node. Let me just make a node. Oh, I wanted to inspect that, but that's not letting me do what I want. I'm trying to think, how would I inspect this node right here? And the only thing I can think of is, because I don't have a user interface here, I can Control Alt Shift and just click on this and get it in this thing. But maybe instead of doing that, I'll just go back over here and inspect this thing, because I have a name for that now, and I can just call it self-seen current. And okay, so that's that. What if I just say bounce and I print it? All right, so we have a point and a corner. Maybe I can make this bigger. So 2 points in space. All right, so if I say 0 at 0, corner 100 at 100, I print that, that gives me the same kind of thing, which I guess if I inspect this, it'll tell me what it is. A rectangle, okay. So bounds gives me a thing called a rectangle, and it has an origin and a corner. Now the question is, does a rectangle have an overlap? We have contains point and contains rect. That's everything I need. So now, okay. Well, it's not everything I need. I need I need to extend this thing. Should be intersects, not contains. You're right. You're absolutely right. Thank you. Okay, so contains points, intersects, whether rectangle or anywhere, right? And so the other one is another rectangle. Okay. So yeah, thank you. All right, well, let me just do what I want to do and then see. So I want to say, let's make 3 of them. And I'll make this one the current one. And I want to say, like, you know, this is equal to self-current, self-seen current. And then self-seen children select, and then each, and then like each intersects this. Each intersects this. Is there like one of these? One of these? or just you say this is equal to each not. Like, I know that will work. Surely there's a not equals, right? There's just not equals. No. Okay, that works, but I'm sure there's a better way to do that. And then no, it's just and each intersects this. So select all those. Is there a select do? Select then do. And then each background color black or whatever. All right, so if I run that, I would expect this one to turn black and everything else remain the same. But instead, referenced, oh, I didn't, oh, no. Reference to undefined variable, so maybe you have to say this. I didn't think you have to do that with these little, these things. But I got a different error here. This one, instance of BR vertical pane did not understand not. Oh, okay. Right. I'm going to look at this and see if there's a so I'm going to look in the, oops. I want to, what do I want to do? I guess I want a proto object, yeah. Okay, so I want to see that it's in the comparing. I want to look under comparing, and I can't filter that way, so I have to say comparing. Ah, okay, I bet this double squiggly is different objects. Okay, so that's how you say it. Oops, not found. Popped up a bunch of errors that I don't. Cursor not found in set. Okay. Bad for you. All right, so squiggly squiggly. All right, instance of BR vertical pane did not understand intersects because I want each bounds intersects. Each bounds intersects this bounds, right? You should remove self from scene's children before starting the loop. Well, and then, okay, yeah. You're saying rather than do this, just remove it from the list. Okay. And I want this. now that I've got the not equals and I know how to say that, I want this. Right, so. All right, now when I click this, I'm expecting this. I'm expecting this one to turn black. But instead, does not understand intersect. BL element local bounds does not understand intersect. So instead of getting a rectangle, I'm getting a BL element local bounds when I call bounds. Right? Okay, so if I just say this bounds, I'm going to print it. I don't understand. Oh, sorry. Didn't understand the next line. That's just a rectangle. But if I say self-seen children collect, and then just X, and then X bounds, and I inspect that. Oops. Oh, I see. I tried to evaluate everything and gave me the same error. If I just inspect that, right, so if I just inspect any one of them, oh, that's a BL element local bounds. They're all BL element local bounds. So they look like a rectangle. Like they look like what I thought was the class, or as rectangle. Okay, that's what we want, just as rectangle. So let's even make that a local that we just, so this rect is equal to this bounds as rectangle, and we say rect intersects each bounds as rectangle. All right. Once again, I expect this one to turn, now that I've selected this, I expect this one to turn black. There we go. Right, and if I move it over here, then I want those two to turn black at once. Yes, they do. All right. Maybe I do what you said. Others, the self children reject. Maybe there's a better way to do this, like X, or just maybe I collect these. Collect, I guess it doesn't matter which way I do it. X is not equal to this. Just those maybe. Okay. Others, and then others do X. I like X better than each. I use a language at work called K, and in K you can just say like X plus 1, and it and so this defines a function, and then x is implicitly the argument to that function. You don't have to define it. If you want to call it something other than x, you would say like, you know, q or something, and you say q plus 1. But if you just say x, then if you just use the variable x, then it gives you shorthand. So I'm used to calling everything an x. And then in my video, my other videos, I use a language where it's y. They're in the same language family. So others do language called K. Others do x, and so I want to say x. So now that I've factored out, I don't need this part anymore, and x bounds is rectangle. And now I want to say, if so, then children remove this. Okay. I'm processing that. So, but let me do that in a second. If so, no, it's not. So I always want to say if so and then else. But that's not small talk. It's not anything. It's actually something. It's retro fourth, but it's in my dialect of retro fourth. If true, if false, and I picked if so and else because they're the same length, and you don't have this like extra character here, which is completely silly. If true, then x background color black. If false, x background color white. And then I need to close that one thing. If false, what? Message not implemented. Oh, it's lowercase. If true, that's fine. If false. Right. Okay. So now I expect that one to turn white, but instead does not understand bound. Oh, I didn't check to see what was intersects bound. Instance of false did not intersect bound. I meant to say select here, didn't I? Yeah. There we go. Now if I move this, they'll all turn white, and if I move it here, then one turns black. And if I move it here, then that one turns black, and the other one turns white. Yeah, okay. So now I want to do this on every tick. Like the reason I'm hesitant to remove it is because I want to do this on every tick, and so like removing it and then putting it back into the thing, that seems like wasteful to me. I think what I really want to is just say self-seen children select then do without the dot, right? Right. And okay, so just as a sanity check, this one is now the active one, and it should. This one is now the active one. I don't know if it's the active one. I don't know. I haven't tested that. I think that just by dragging it, like that triggers both the click handler and the pull handler, but I don't know that. So Okay, that one, yes, that does work the way I think it works the way I expected. Move this one over here and make, I'm thinking just by dragging it, it's now the active one. Why would it be wasteful you skip testing for self? Well, okay, so it kind of depends on. First of all, I don't know. I don't know if it's wasteful or not, and I don't know how to profile it. I'm not good enough at small talk to know this. My intuition is telling me that if I so okay, so I have, say I have variable, I have these nodes, or what am I? Yeah, I guess these are called nodes. Like this one seems to be on top right now. Right now, they stay in that order. It might be the case that if I click on this one, I want it to come to the top. In which case, I would have to do that. I would have to take it out of the list and put it back on top of at a particular position in the list, like the front, the front of the back, however it happens to be ordered. But right now, this is like in the middle of, so they're numbered. In one of, I actually can't tell if this is on top or bottom. Right? Well, I guess this one is on. So I don't know which of those two is on the top. I guess if I double click, they change colors. Okay, so double click and they change colors, and then we should be able to arrange them by which one's on top of what. This one's in the back. This one's in the back of that. This one's on the front, and this one is all the way down here. So I would think if I pick this one up, like, and I take it out of the list, and I want to put it back in that order, and that's going to cause like I don't know how arrays are. I don't know how ordered collection works. Like, is it a linked list, or is it like is it? Like, I know, I realize I'm talking about like I'm doing collision checks on every object, so it's like a small scene anyway. It doesn't matter. You're not twisting the list in this matter, but in this method, so it doesn't matter. All right, whatever. I'll take your advice. Reordering. Yeah, I'm gonna take your advice. I'm gonna try it and see what happens. I don't imagine that, like, if it makes the code simpler, then I'm happy, right? So okay, so you're saying self-seen children, remove this, and then self-seen children. Oh, so I could just say self-seen children, remove this, and then do this if true. Right. That is nice. But then I have to put it back, right? I have to add, or I have to re-add the guy. Well, he's still in current, right? But add child. This. Instance of BL children array did not understand add child. Okay, why is that? Oh, self-seen children add, right? I see, add. But I can't remove it because now it's not in there. All right. I don't think I have to copy this. Yeah, I'm not sure I like the mutation in the. But let's see. Copy children, then remove this. I see what you're saying. All right, so was it just called copy? Move this. Move this. And then we don't need to add this. Got it. Yeah, that's nice. And then it's, yeah. Yeah. I'm overly concerned about speed and something that clearly does not matter. You know, like again, I'm like, you know, if I really cared about speed, I would, you know, I would be thinking about, like, you know, what do you call those things? Quad trees, you know, and like not checking every single object in the scene, and like I'm just being completely silly, you know, worrying about that at all. I should be trying to get it work, getting it working. Um, okay, so now I would want this to happen on every tick as I'm pulling it, and so now I can't just use this stock. Um, what's it called? Pull handler. Pull handler. So let me Control B to browse that. Let me Control B to browse that. Okay. Be free. Be horizontal. Be vertical. Disallow out of bound. Oh, dragging it. Okay. I want that. I think I just passed a drag event. But where is, okay, so an event. Target element for fishing. Oh no, is this in, wait, this is setting a drag event. This is a setter. So this is I probably want something called like see, I'm trying to implement like drag and drop on something that already implements drag and drop. So clearly I have an event handler for previous position to new position by a delta starting from this. I want something that happens on every tick. Events. What is this? So I've seen this. This keeps it inside the parent container. But that doesn't. I thought maybe that would change something. Hmm. Like I was looking for something simpler that's just like drag event. That looks like start event. What I should do when I don't know how to use something in this thing is I should look at the examples. Um, All right, let me think about this. How would I find? So an example is the way they have their test cases. They are examples, right? So examples are basically the word example in Glamorous Toolkit means a test case that returns an object, and then that object is something you can inspect. So an example is like a is both the code example and actually like a physical object you can look at. So I want to see like where would I find pull event? But that's what I'm looking at right now. Oh, pull handler I'm looking at. Oh, okay. Well, maybe what I want is maybe there's a I don't maybe I don't maybe maybe what I want is like a when I'm just guessing here BL drag event. Yeah, drag event. Drag event do maybe this can be is completely wrong, but we'll see. I'm just gonna guess here. And then well, I need self, right? So yeah, I don't care about the old position and the new position and everything. So I just want to do like something on every tick, right? I feel like maybe that's like I just want the drag event. I just want I don't even care about the current position. I just want the fact that it is being dragged, and this is a step, right? Which is I'm guessing is the drag event. And really, this should be a method, and I know it should be a method, and I'm just doubling down on the non-object oriented small talk dialect tonight. I know this is terrible. So this is just node now. So node is what we call this. We're gonna give this a local name rect. So this is actually happening inside of GSsketch scene. So right now, scene is the self. I know this should be. I'm not liking this code. I want to make it classes. I feel how bad this code is. But that's okay. I'm just going to keep doing it for now because I want it to work, and then I'll worry about making it nice and clean. All right, so all right, let's see if that doesn't. That's what I want. And then one more thing, though, I want that I didn't say yet. But in the old demo, I'm pretty sure this doesn't really matter. But in the original demo, I think they both change color. Yeah, and then in the Godot version, the one you're dragging changes like gold or something. Let's just do that. So now rectangles and bounds is rectangle, self, children. And I'm going to wrap up after I do this. It's like 11 o'clock for me. After 11. Self, children, copy, remove node. So I want to like know how many like hits or whatever. So hits is equal to 0, and then for all those, if true, hits equals hits plus 1. With a period. Okay. And then here we would say hits greater than 0. Period up here, hits greater than 0. If true, node color node color colon is color from hex string doesn't like that? Oh, because it's, I need to put this in parentheses. Right, so if true, let's do it over here. Node color is color from hex string gold. Else, nope, if false, I think I can say node color like this, right? I think I can just do this. Node color, and then hits greater than 0, if true, else color white. And friends, and then end this block up here. Definitely needs to be refactored, but I'm gonna get this working and then go to sleep. Oh, many windows are popping up. Instance of, oh yeah, it's not called color. Color was the wrong accessor. So I'll take the last, I close a bunch of those windows, and then we'll say, instead of color, we'll say node background. Save that. I get no feedback that this is saving, so I don't, oop. I put my mouse over that thing, I got more of these pop-ups. So I don't think it's saved. Okay, I'm gonna close this window. I'm gonna close this window. It did update. I think I just need to run this again. Yeah, that's what I wanted. Okay, I think I'm done for tonight. I have to close these 900 windows that popped up. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So was it, so drag event was sufficient to do that? Yeah, because I'm thinking that this pull handler is receiving the drag events, and so that's making me think that you could have just subscribed to BL drag event, and that's cool. I like that that these event handlers work together. Progress, yeah, I'm very happy with this. So, I mean, this is educational for me. I'm still, like I said, learning small talk and clearly writing messy, bad small talk. And I don't know. Actually, I mean, is it worse than this? I don't know. Um, Probably looks a lot better if the font is, I make my font big for streaming. But I'm trying to figure out how to say your name there. Hooper Niketes? I don't know. Is it Greek? Um, anyway, thank you for hanging out with me and watching this. I stream every night. I don't always stream about small talk or Pharaoh or anything, but that's kind of what I'm on lately. And all of this code is if you want to play with it yourself. So you can go download Glamorous Toolkit from gtoolkit.com, I believe. And then my repository is wow is github.com tangent storm, not tangent stream, tangent storm, and then ts dash Pharaoh. That's all here, and it's kind of like a everything database right now. Like I didn't really put a lot of thought into this. I made it. Actually started this 2 years ago. Last time I was looking at Smalltalk, and just like last week started picking it up again. So it's a little bit of a mess. But GameSketchLib is what we're looking at here. Is everything that I did tonight is in GameSketchLib, and then yeah, the Leopard database is also setting this up. You might want to watch Oscar. Well, on the Glamorous Toolkit has a they have their own YouTube channel, and there's like a series of videos called like Glamorous in 7 minutes, and he talks about how to set up GitHub. It's a little bit tricky. It's not like not terribly tricky, but you can clone this repo, fork it, whatever you want to do, if you want to play with this. I don't have like written instructions or anything. Sorry. Anyway, thanks for watching, and thanks to everybody who's watching on YouTube in the future. I really appreciate it, and I hate to say like and subscribe, but I feel like a show, but anyway, I'm gonna head off to bed, and so see you again soon. Adios. End stream.